Hello, Sabers! Welcome to Virtual Miss Marsh. So, today we're going to talk about if-then-else statements, which is basically conditionals, just like if-then statements that we talked about earlier in the week. However, now we have the ability to talk about what happens if other values are typed in. So, like, when we looked at it last time, we looked at what happens if I want to see about a certain value. Most of the time you're going to want to be like, if this happens, do this. But if this is going to be typed in, you want this to happen. Very commonly, these are if-else. You're going to see if-else very commonly in computer science. In other languages, it's a very common way to say it. If-then-else statements, what they allow you to do. They allow you to include an optional else, so it's not required to have an else, because then you just have an if-then. That's going to execute or run when the if condition evaluates to false. In Visual Basic, here is how this looks. So if I have if whatever condition I want to know about, then, and then you're going to have statements. This right here, let me get my pen here. Boop. There we go. This right here, these will run if it is true. So if this is a true statement, this will run. Else, these will run, these statements, if I am a false statement. So, conditions usually are either equal to, you're going to check for equality, or you might check for is it greater than, is it less than, something like that. The condition, the statements will run, the first set of statements, the one inside the if you want to consider it that, inside, that's when you're true. The stuff inside the else area, that's when it'll be false. Now, like I said, else is optional. However, I find if you make an if statement, you're more than likely to make an if-else, just because you want to deal with the other information on that side. So, let's take a look at a couple examples of if-else. So, I created myself a variable called int h. It is an integer. And it says if the variable int age is equal to 18, then I want the label, the message, the label called message, I want its text to say you can vote. If else, then I want it to say you can't vote yet, and then I end my if. So this is what's going to run if that's a true statement. This is what's going to run if it's a false statement. So let's check to see. If int age was assigned 19, so that means at the top here, if I would say equals 19, what will happen? What will be shown in my label? So if int age is 18, so what it's going to do, the computer's going to be like, okay, what is int age? It's going to look back and it's going to say, oh, int age is 19. So it's going to be like, burp, burp, cross that off, put a 19 there. And it's going to say, is 19 equal to 18? 19 equal to 18. It's going to say, well, no, that's a false statement, right? So it's not going to be able to run this. It's actually going to run what's inside my else. So in this case, on 19, it would say, you can't vote yet. That's what it would run if we were doing that one. Now, let's check the next one. What about 14? So, if I'm looking at 14, we're going to assign int age, the value of 14. So, int age, it's going to be like, oh, what's the value for an age? Oh, value's 14. Cool. So, it's going to scribble that out and put a 14 there. And it's going to think, the computer is going to actually think and say, is the number 14 equal to the number 18? And it's going to go, well, no, that's not the case, right? False. Then what's going to happen is it's going to run your else statement because it's not the true statement, right? Else, it's this number 14. If I have int age is 14, it's also going to say you can't vote yet. Again, 18. Now, if int age is given the value of 18, so it's going to put an 18 there. Let's do some erasing, actually. That's a little cleaner. There we go. Alright, So it's going to say, well, int age is 18. So it's going to be like, int age, well, his value is 18. So it's going to say, is 18 equal to 18? Yes. Yes, indeed it is. So what it's going to then say, it's not going to say the else statement. Kind of like the last two didn't say the true statement as well as with the else statement. This case, it's just going to say, you can vote. It's not going to say you can vote and you can't vote yet. It's going to say you can vote. If it evaluates in this area, your else statement is null and void. It won't run. If it evaluates in the else statement, so if it evaluates here, this will not run. It allows you to choose, kind of like a pick your own chapter storybook you probably have read once or twice in your life. That's what an if statement allows you to do. It's like, if I choose the sword, I'm supposed to go to page 15, but if I choose the flashlight, I'm supposed to go to page 20. That kind of thing. It allows the computer to make decisions based on values. Now, remember as well, guys, we need to remember the relational operators, okay? So, those information that you did in math class, the less than, the greater than, you're going to want to remember those. So remember, this one is a less than symbol. If you have trouble recognizing less thans, if you kind of turn your head a little bit, this is an L. Right here, made an L. That's how you know it's a less than. It makes an L if it's, kind of look at it sideways. This is greater than. Then, of course, this one is greater than or equal. Normally, that would look like this in a math class, but this is not found on the keyboard. Sad day. So we actually use this instead. This is less than or equal to. And then this is not equal. So this would be checking for, as long as the numbers aren't equal, have this run. So as long as it's not equal to 5, we're okay. Something like that. In math, you might see it as that sign, not equal to. So let's check with relational operators here. So I got dim int age is integer. We have if int age is greater than 17, then you can see an R-rated film without an adult. Else, inside the message, the label message, we're going to say better get your parents to come along. If int age is assigned the value of 19, so if we're given 19 here, computer's going to be like, oh, int age is the value of 19. So it's going to say, is 19 greater than 17? Yes, computer would respond in a true. That is true. So it will run what's inside the if. So this would say you can see a R-rated film without an adult. There should be an M on there. There we go. Then 17. 17 is going to run here. So if int age is 17, it's going to say, is 17 greater than 17? No, right? 17 is not greater than 17. This would have been greater than or equal to for this to run. So in this case, 17 is going to say, better get your parents to come along. That would probably be what would be known as a logic error, because you would probably want to be greater than or equal to 17, because 17 technically you can see an R-rated film. That would be a logic error on the programmer's part. Keep in mind with that, that's definitely a logic error that can happen quite a bit with conditionals, is accidentally not putting it equal to. And then we got last case, test case, if you want to consider these test cases to make sure that the if's working. I got 13, so it's going to say, is 13 greater than 17? That's not the case, right? 13 is not greater than 17. So 13 is also going to say, better get your parents to come along. If then else statements are not too difficult. Just make sure you kind of pay attention to what's going on. The definite thing that really does help with if then else's is this indentation that helps you. So what's inside the if and what's inside the else. So be careful, watch for that, because then you know what's inside each of the areas. If it helps, you can also in your idea or in comments even label which one's the true and which one's the false statement. I have found that helps some students as well, so they know which one is which when they're coding. But with that, that's the end of this video. Now what you want to do is work on the worksheet with if then else statements. A little bit of kind of like what I did in the video, a little couple of test cases, and then also a little bit of code writing as well on the paper. We'll go over the answers when I get back. But until then, see you later, Sabers.